Hello, Toy Collector fans. Universal Toy Collector here, and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of my childhood toy memories. Okie dokie then, so we are here once again for another episode of my childhood toy memories, the series where I get to chat with members of the YouTube toy collecting family about certain toys they had as a kid and the certain memories those particular toys had for them. This week, I'm joined by the better half, should I say, of a long time ago, Adam. Sorry, Martin. Martin, sorry. How are you? All right.
I'm really, really good. Cheers, Stu.
Yeah.
You nailed that first time. Well done.
Yeah, of course I did. Of course I did. I'm professional. What can I say? Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. It's very much appreciated.
Yep, I'm happy. I'm lovely to be here. I'm really
Yeah.
excited and can't
You
wait
sure
to
you didn't sound
talk.
too convinced then when you said that? You
No,
know, bit of
no,
a delay.
sorry. There was a slight delay there, but
Was
no,
it? Yeah,
yeah.
that old chestnut. Okay, no worries. Right, so you've sent us over some photos. Some of them banging. I will get to those later. But what we'll do is we'll start with the first one. So, do you want to talk us through this, Martin?
Yeah, I mean, I know we're here to primarily talk about toys, but
Yeah.
this item was the family VHS recorder, and this was the actual model we had as a kid. I
Wow.
searched the internet to try and find the actual model, and this is the one. And as much as I was into toys as a kid, like all kids were, I
Yeah.
was just as much into movies as well from a very, very young age.
Yeah.
And I would spend as much time playing toys as I would do being sat in front of the TV with something in this VHS recorder. It got to the point where I'd take this upstairs into my room because I had one of those little 12-inch TVs in my room, and
Yeah.
I'd on my bedroom door, I'd make out like a cinema poster, and showing tonight, and I'd pick 3 films that
Oh, cool.
that's how I would play, as a
Yeah.
really young kid. So I'd have like Police Academy, all things that I probably shouldn't be watching at that age, but and of course, no one was coming to my cinema. It was just me, but it was just my way of sort of play, because I
Yeah.
love movies more than anything, nearly as much as Star Wars. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I hope you don't mind, but I threw this in here
No,
because
no. I don't mind because it is part of a childhood memory. And what I was going to ask you, do you remember the first time you got something like a VHS or a DVD recorder or a CD player for Christmas instead of a toy?
yes, but I think we'll be coming onto that a bit later.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, so I sent you a picture of something that I did was my first sort of electronic item I got for
Right.
Christmas.
Okay. Okay.
But when I was young, kind of linked is I know I mentioned that this was taken upstairs from time to time to my
Yeah.
bedroom, but
Yeah.
eventually my parents got a more modern VHS recorder. I mean, I
Right.
don't know if you ever saw one of these. You had to push down both the play and the record button at the same
Yeah.
time when you were
Yeah.
recording something.
Yeah. I remember that.
Brilliant, brilliant.
I mean, that was
Um,
modern technology back in those days, wasn't it? I
yeah,
mean, that was,
yeah.
I can remember taking a day off sick, and I was so poorly. I was awful. I was
I
awful.
bet,
And
yeah.
as soon as my mum went out the door for work, I got straight up and put Star Wars in the video recorder, and I was so chuffed that I managed to do it because it's the first time that I did it on my own. So I was
Yeah,
like proper chuffed, and I just sat there and do you know, I felt so much better
yeah. It's
after
funny that,
watching that
yeah,
movie. It is
yeah,
funny. It is funny.
yeah.
But okay, so we move on to the next one. Then I'm guessing this is what you're talking about as an electronic
Yeah, I
device.
never
Yeah.
had I never had a games console as a kid. I never had,
Yeah.
so I think that the NES was, kind of around in, when I was a kid, and then the Super Nintendo was kind of a bit more,
Yeah.
sort of college, university time, but as a sort of when I was at secondary school, I think it was the first or second year I was at secondary school, I got this, which is an Amiga 500, and this was, to me was epic.
Yeah.
It was the first games console, if you like, that I had. Obviously, it wasn't a console, but I didn't do anything other than play games on this. And quite a few people at my school had one of these.
Yeah.
It was the next step up from the Commodore 64. And I again, just like watching movies and playing Star Wars and all the other things I had, I spent just as much time when I got this just playing computer games on it.
Yeah,
And you know, I have such great memories. I even every now and again will go on YouTube and people create these amazing videos of like top 10 Amiga 500 games, and it's just such a great nostalgia feeling to go back and
yeah.
see those games. And I believe they've just, well, maybe not just, but in the last year or so, released. They brought out those mini consoles, the SNES, the NES, and the
Yeah,
Mega Drive.
yeah,
They've just
yeah.
done the same for this as well.
Oh, wow.
So you
Okay.
can buy one that will connect to a modern TV. So I
Yeah.
think, the problem is I bought the Super Nintendo Mini, and I played for it for about 6 hours, and I don't think I've ever taken it out of the box again. So
Oh, okay.
it's one of those things that if I did buy it,
Yeah.
do you know sometimes when you watch a film or play a game from your childhood, and then you do it again as an adult, and it doesn't quite hit those notes that it did when you were a kid, and you
Yeah.
regret you
Yeah.
regret doing it, don't you? And I'd be afraid of doing it because the memory itself is what counts rather than the actual reliving that memory, I think. So
Yeah, I guess it does. It's like the first time you do anything, isn't it? It's always that sort of like special moment, and then you try and recreate that, and it never sort of like works
some
out like
things,
you
yeah,
said,
yeah,
as well, sometimes it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
happen that way. But, I mean, was this cartridge? Because I don't remember the
No,
Amiga.
no, this was
What
floppy
was it?
disk. Floppy
Oh
disk.
my god.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, so it wasn't the really large floppy disks. It was, I think they were like
Yeah.
3-inch floppy disks with the little silver bit you'd pull back,
Yeah.
at the top. But, yeah, I mean, the games were quite expensive, there was a disc you could get, and it was like a copying disc. So what you basically
Okay.
did is you made a copy of this copy
Yeah.
disc, you gave it to all your friends, and then literally you just copy each other's games that you had, and then everyone would just sort of have everybody else's games because you were able to copy them.
It was that
Um,
easy to do?
oh, it was so easy. It's literally a case of
Wow.
you put the disc in, it puts the information in the drive, and then you put the spare disc in, and it just copies it onto the spare disc, and then hey presto, you've got a £30 or £20 game for free, or the cost of an empty disc, and it was rife. Everybody had it, so
Yeah.
I think that maybe would have been one of the reasons that it didn't do well, or the games
Quite
didn't sell well.
possibly.
Yeah,
Yeah. God blimey. It's like, that's
yeah,
if you had, like, 5 or 6 friends and, like, 5 or 6 games you wanted, just get a game each and then just copy it, and yeah, that's mad. I'm
it is.
surprised they
It's
didn't
mad.
pick up on that.
No, no. Well, they tried to stop it by putting, blocks on discs, but
Oh, okay.
these were like, this wasn't PC age. These were really basic
Yeah.
computers, really basic.
Yeah.
So you could get round things so easily. You didn't need a
Yeah.
degree in computer programming or anything.
Oh,
So,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And the worst thing is, Stu, they actually sold these copy discs in store, um, but they were like sold as, I don't know, something to copy files, like work
Yeah.
files and stuff, but
Yeah.
they could be used for games as well. So these things were able, you could just go into your local computer store and buy these discs. It was
That's
it was
mad.
crazy. Yeah.
That's mad. I remember when we was a kid, we had the first kinda like Atari, and that was the video, capsules and stuff like that, and that spent a lot of time in the box up in my mum and dad's wardrobe, up in their bedroom and stuff like that, and I think every, I think 2 weeks or something like that, my dad would get it down, and we'd have about an hour or so on there and whatnot, and as much as I liked it, I thought it was pretty cool. I don't know, I just was never really into sort of like gaming.
Mm.
I think until the first Nintendo came out, and that was, when was that? Early 90s, mid 90s?
Yeah, was it not late 80s?
Late 80s?
88.
Was it earlier than that?
The original NES, I think, was late
Oh,
80s.
wow, crikey.
Um,
Okay,
but
God.
but
Yeah,
yeah, we never had any consoles at all. The first console I had was a GameCube, and I think that came out in
yeah.
2001, and I would have been
Mm,
20, 22, 23 by then,
wow.
because I could have had a job and could afford to buy it myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was always envious of people that had Mega Drives and Ataris, and
Really?
a little bit, because you know what it's like when you were at school. You'd go over to someone's
Yeah.
house after school, and you'd spend hours just playing games, and you'd go home, and you were kind of like, "Oh, I didn't have any of that." Um, so I was always a little bit envious, but
Yeah.
I think that's a kid thing, isn't it? I don't think as an adult you'd particularly
Yeah.
would
I was
would
gonna
be.
say that's really weird. That didn't really sort of like phase me too much. I mean, I
Mm,
remember going round. a friend's house, and this guy, Matt Anderson, he was my best friend at school, and every weekend I was around his house early morning Saturday having second breakfasts as you do because I got up early in the morning. My mum would give us breakfast, and then I'd trundle off around his house about 8 o'clock, half 8 in the morning, knocking on the door, and his mum's going, "Oh God, bloody hell, you again?" and get in, sort of thing. And I would spend all day there,
Yeah,
and go home at about like 5:30, and we would spend hours playing Star Wars, Master of the Universe, and he had that first Nintendo system, and
yeah.
we were on playing the golf games and stuff like that. He tried to get me into the American football game, but I just didn't have a clue. Did not have a clue how that worked and stuff like that. But going back to my earlier question on your previous slide, you know, how did you feel when you started getting stuff like this for Christmas instead of toys? Did you feel like it was a more grown up kind of thing, or did you miss getting the toys?
Um, I mean, the VHS was something I had prior to secondary school.
Yeah,
So that was kind of like it just felt normal to me. But when I got to
yeah,
secondary school and I got this, you kind of felt like you were growing up a bit because you were at secondary school, maybe.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I, I mean, I must admit, I might not have been getting toys sort of after the age of 13, 14, but I
yeah,
was probably still playing with toys a little bit. Um, so, uh, yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say. It'd be 50-50 on both, to be honest with you.
yeah,
I feel like having something like this yeah, it was different experience. It was something I could probably do better because I was a bit older. If I'd have had this when I was sort of under 10, maybe I wouldn't have been quite as interested in it because
yeah, yeah.
I wasn't used to this sort of thing. But yeah, it's difficult to say really. I mean, I did feel older having something like this, but I still probably would have missed getting new toys. To be honest with you, because
It,
I, I did. Well, I'm sure we'll come on to it later, but I mean, I did play with toys quite till quite late, if I'm honest.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's not a problem
yeah.
at all. That's not a problem at all. I remember, I think it was, I don't know, how old was I? I think I must have been about 13, and I got myself one of those like little portable TVs that you get with a little video cassette, all in one sort of thing. And I was
Mm,
like, yeah, that's great, that's great, that's great. And I'm like, I kind of
mm,
miss my toys sort of
yeah,
thing. But then the
yeah.
following year, when I was 13, I was 13? No, no, when I was 14, should I say? And I got an Action Force Sky Striker, and I opened that and I thought, yeah, that's great, but I'm getting a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
timing,
yeah,
isn't it? I felt a little
yeah.
bit old for the
I
Sky
think
Striker.
'cause I mean, I'm not gonna paint it for everybody, but I think as well, when you're at school and, your friends are all getting a certain item for Christmas maybe,
Yeah,
subconsciously you maybe feel you're missing out, so you ask your parents for what your friends might already have or what they're getting, so that when you go to school after Christmas, you can contribute to that conversation, if you like,
yeah,
as as because when you're a kid, you don't think like an adult, obviously, and you want to be part of the cool club when you're at school, maybe. Fortunately,
I
I was
still
never
do,
part of
Martin.
that.
I still do.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say I never got my membership card, unfortunately, but but you try your best.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did you spend? Was it family time spent with this, or was this just you in your room playing this on your own?
Yeah, no, even before this, when it came to my toys and my video recorder and this, it was always in my room on my own.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, my sister and I get on absolutely fantastically, but we weren't sort of really close brother and sister, so we were both in
yeah,
our separate rooms doing our own thing. And mum was always busy, whether she was working or whatever. So it was always a case of we were always in our rooms. And
yeah,
we were, to be fair, and I think my mum did a fantastic job. We were left to entertain ourselves and look after ourselves to a certain extent. So
yeah,
I never really thought anything of that, and it kind of taught you a little bit of self reliance, and it was quite nice to sort of be able, because as I got a little bit older, perhaps, and I was playing with my toys a bit more. Um, I'd kind of do it quietly because in back of my mind, I felt perhaps that I was too old to be doing that still.
yeah,
So it was good that I was in my room on my own doing it, and and obviously with the door closed, and I was probably a little bit embarrassed when I got to a certain age.
yeah,
But when it came to playing on the Amiga, it was always something you could only really play one player anyway, to be
Oh,
honest with
okay.
you, Stu. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries. Just going back to this, you said you've seen a lot of films and stuff like that. Have you seen as many films as Adam Berry?
Oh, you beat me to it. I had a line prepared for that later. Um, well, I watched films from a really young age, and just like all
Yeah,
kids in the 80s, I was allowed to watch whatever I wanted. There was no restrictions, and we had
yeah.
a little van that came round 3 times a week from the
Oh my
local
god,
video
I remember
store.
those. Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
that pulled up. It was like one of those little
yeah,
box vans,
yeah, yeah,
and VHS tapes, and every 3 days we'd rent a video. We'd take it in turns. One week it was my
yeah,
sister's turn, and I'd badger her, "Oh, Return of the Jedi's over there, look." So I was watching films constantly. I was always recording films, so
yeah,
I was always watching films, and then, of course, in later life, I worked at Blockbuster Video for 3 years. I was a store manager there. So if you asking me the question, have I watched more films than Adam Berry? I've definitely watched more films than Adam Berry, without a doubt. Although he does say that he's been tracking all the films
yeah.
he's ever watched. So unfortunately, I can't prove it.
I've just got a text. I've just
Uh,
got a text.
yeah.
Adam Berry says you're talking shit. So, there you go. No, that's
I'm gonna
only
get a
joking.
power cut in a minute.
Oh dear. I mean, so just want to stay on the films. I mean, what sort of like genre of films were you into as a kid, or was it like all sorts?
I was into everything, Stu. I mean,
Yeah,
mostly science fiction, fantasy,
yeah,
even if it was the really cheap B movies or even C movie fantasy we got in the 80s to try and cash in on Star Wars. I
yeah.
was watching the raucous comedies from the 80s, Caddyshack, Police
Oh
Academy,
wow, God,
Stripes.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
Stripes were
yeah,
70s, I think. I was watching all that stuff that you shouldn't be watching. And then I was watching Predator, I was watching, Terminator, Total Recall, I was watching, I was watching everything I possibly could
yeah.
get my hands on because the guy who ran the video store knew that my parents they must have said, "Oh, yeah, let him rent whatever he wants." So I was
Wow.
allowed to watch
Yeah.
whatever, yeah, good times, really good times.
It felt so it was so cool. I remember when, my dad brought Aliens home for the first time,
Oh, yeah.
and he put that on, and I was sitting down, and normally he says to me, "All right, go to bed, you're not watching this." And I just sat there because I'd heard so many good things about it from my neighbor. My neighbor was like a few years older than me. He'd seen it. I'm sitting there, sitting there, sitting there, and my dad never said a word. And I sat there, and I was like, "Wow, I'm grown up now. I'm so
Yeah,
happy." So
yeah,
it's like from then it went like Predator and like Total Recall, like you say, the films like that. And
yeah,
but yeah,
definitely.
no, it's awesome, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I think that the same sort of situation happened, for Batman '89 when that came out on VHS, 'cause I never got to see it at the cinema, obviously, because it was a 15.
Yeah,
I think I would have been, what, 12 or no, yeah, 10, 12, something like that when it came out on VHS, maybe 13.
yeah.
And I remember I to this day, I still remember sitting in my bedroom watching that for the first time, and it's probably one of the films that stuck with me the most, as,
Yeah.
like, mind-blowing,
It was a great movie, and
yeah,
the funny thing is you talking about that, I remember, I mean, I was old enough to go to see it at the pictures and stuff like that, and I always come out of the pictures thinking, "Yeah, I didn't really appreciate it as
mm,
much as maybe I should have done."
yeah,
But then I wasn't really into Batman because I thought, "Well, crikey, it's just gonna be, like, cheesy like the original Batman '66." It was totally different, and it took me a little while to adjust. I mean, I loved the performance of Jack Nicholson. I've always said that it was a great performance.
yeah,
And then I think as time went on, you watch it and watch it and watch it, you learn to appreciate it a lot
mm,
more than what you sort of like did. Well, for me anyway, the first time. But yeah, that was such a fantastic
it's so good.
movie. That was
It's so
awesome.
good.
Yeah, yeah. Right, let's move on. Now, look, when I saw this, when you
Yeah.
sent me this, I thought, now I know why you're so bloody good at Top Golf.
Um, okay, now, when I was growing up, and I'm not gonna make a big hard luck story, but we genuinely didn't have very much money when I was growing up, and
Yeah,
a lot of what I was given were hand-me-downs from my dad and my uncles when they were
yeah,
kids.
yeah.
And this was one of my uncle's, toys. It could possibly been one of my dad's toys, and,
Oh,
this came out in, I think it was the late '60s, early '70s,
yeah.
and
Arnold Palmer.
yeah, basically, it was a golf club, but it had a little trigger on it, and you controlled the little golf guy at the end there. And yeah, so
Serious?
so you attached a different club to his hands. And you can see the green matting there, and you've got
Yeah,
bunkers,
yeah.
and you make a hole in the middle. So you would literally play golf, but with a little guy like that. And to
Wow.
me, even looking at this now, when you asked me to do this, I was like, I really had to rack my brains about what I had as a kid. And I was looking at this and I was thinking, oh my God, I had so many great hours playing this silly little game. But why is this not available now? Because I think people would get a kick out of something like this
I
now, because
don't
it's
know.
it's
I
quite
don't know.
simple, but it's
Yeah,
sort of thing you could sort of have a few people playing, couldn't you?
yeah.
You could make it a little bit more modern maybe, but I thought it was great, and I had some many, as I say, great hours playing this game. Some of looking at that previous picture with the box and all of this stuff there,
Yeah.
when I got it, it had the box and it had a few bits in there, but there's quite a lot that I can see there that wasn't in the box when I was playing with it. So obviously, my uncles and my dad had lost
Yeah,
parts of it
yeah.
before it got handed to me. But yeah,
It's
I know it's a bit
love that.
random, but this was
No,
generally one
it's
of
not.
those.
It's not at all. It's not at all. The
Yeah.
guy's probably got a better golf swing than I have. No, we did. No comment on that. But when I saw this reminded me of like the Subbuteo set I had as a kid. And it again, you say, why don't they do things like this now? I mean, I don't think there would be that much sort of like interest in it really, because it's all computer games and stuff like that, isn't
Yeah.
it now? And VR games and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
interactive stuff. I mean, but I love this sort of stuff as a kid. I wasn't into golf as a kid. Like I say, I was very much into Subbuteo. So when I saw this, that just took me back to my Subbuteo days. I mean, was you into Subbuteo at all, or not
Um,
really?
well, I wasn't personally, but my uncle Graham, who's he's only 15 years older than me.
Yeah,
My grandparents used to have this house, and it had like an attic room, and he had a table up there, and it was a full size Subbuteo pitch he'd created on it.
yeah,
And I've got these really like they're not particularly vivid memories, but I do remember going up to this attic room when he wasn't at home, and this huge Subbuteo stadium, and he had Subbuteo figures everywhere. So he was heavily into it.
yeah.
So I knew of it, but I never actually got to play a game. I've never actually got to play a game, but it looked amazing from what I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
But I mean, something like this, you're right, kids wouldn't play it. But I think
No.
say you and Georgie came over and we'd had a few glasses of wine or something, and we got this out. I think we'd have a right crack.
Right, I'm telling you now, I'm never playing golf with you again. You're a fucking hustler. That's what you are. You're unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was going into that Top Golf thinking, "I know how to swing a club. I can play golf." And then you just brazenly come along, whack, yeah, brilliant. I thought I'd done well with a score of 50 on my first shot, right? And then that was it. I was like, "Okay," or my first round, but, yeah, yeah.
To be fair,
Again,
we only recorded the bad shots, didn't we? You had some good ones as well.
oh, did I? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cheers. Yeah, when I didn't care enough to actually take part and not bother and stuff like that, I was just like, "I can't be
Uh,
arsed now." But, yeah, but no, you're absolutely right. I mean, this would be like a great game. I mean, was this something that you played with again on your own, or did you get friends and other people involved in it?
I think I played with my sister a few times, and my dad, when I was
Yeah,
really young, probably played it with me. And I should imagine, I don't remember, but I would imagine my uncles probably did as well. Because um, my my dad's side of the family, they all play golf, and I play golf, and you kind of
yeah,
there was this is kind of, it wasn't a toy, but it was something that was passed down 3 generations.
yeah,
It was a child's golf club set, so it was
yeah,
mini golf clubs, and the rule was when you had kids, you'd pass this down to the next generation, this golf bag with a set of children's clubs, so that that kid could start early.
yeah,
And I think I might have been the last person to have those clubs, and I gave them back to my granddad when I'd grown out of them.
yeah.
And I've never seen them since, so I'm assuming they're either in his garage somewhere or they've got rid of them. But yeah, it was kind of it was always a thing that we've done, as a family, playing golf, whether we
Yeah,
were kids or adults. So
yeah.
yeah.
question we're going to ask you, just last one on this. When you go to like NEC Toy Fair or Sandown Toy Fair, have you ever seen this since?
No, I've
No.
never once seen it, anywhere. I've seen it on YouTube videos in the past where I've sort of
Yeah.
remembered about it, and, you know, you type it in and there it is.
Yeah.
And then obviously when you said we were doing this, I found a few pictures of it, and
Yeah.
isn't it? I'm sure you've had this from a lot of your guests, but it's amazing when you look at some of these things that you haven't looked at for 20 plus years, 30 years, or whatever, 40 in this case. And it just brings these memories flooding
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such
Yeah.
so good,
I
so
mean,
good.
really, that's the name of the series, isn't it? My Childhood Toy
Ah,
Memories. So, yeah,
I
it's a
that's
bit
just
of
twigged, yeah.
would this be something that you would, if you did see it, like, at NEC or Sandown, would it be something that you'd be like, "Oh, I had that as a kid, I'd be tempted to get that," or is that sort of like you know, past that now?
No, do you know what? If it wasn't mega expensive,
Yeah.
I would definitely pick this up. Because as I say, it would be fun to pull out, if someone came over and, you
Yeah.
know, it just for even if it was just for half an hour just to have a laugh, it would be quite fun.
Yeah.
And then it probably never get used for another, 10 years, but yeah, I think a lot of the things that we buy,
Yeah.
um, you know, we don't necessarily buy it to use, we just buy it because we used to have it and,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
we
that's
just
fair
like to
enough.
look at it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I would definitely get this
Yeah.
again.
Cool. What about, oh, no, there's another picture there. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. It's fairly big, isn't it? It's quite a big
It's
old.
it's a fair old size, yeah.
Yeah.
So and the funny thing is you have like 6 different clubs. So you you know, but essentially it doesn't really matter because the mat's not that big, so it doesn't matter what
Yeah.
club you pick, but it's as a kid, it's just a thought, right, "Oh, I think I'll use a 5 iron rather than a 9 iron," you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter, but
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. That's cool. So you've got another board game here. Now
oh,
I remember the game
yeah.
Torpedo Run, but I don't ever remember playing this. Talk us through this.
Now, again, as a kid, I didn't get a huge amount at Christmas time, but I was always guaranteed to get something special if we went to my gran and granddad's for Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one year, we went to their house, and I think it was Boxing Day. We went there, and they had their tree, and obviously they'd opened their presents up the day before. So whatever was left under the tree were for me and my sister and my mum
Yeah.
and dad. So, there you walked into the house and you kind of made a slight look to the left, and you see what's under the tree still, and there was this ginormous box under there. And, I was like, "Oh, I wonder who that's for. That's ginormous, that box. Oh, wow." Anyway, I had to wait 2 or 3 hours to have lunch and, you know, chit chat, and all the time I'm thinking is, "Oh, what's in that big box? What's in that big box?" So we finally get, to opening our presents that are under the tree, and I rip it open, and it was one of those stunned moments because, of course, I didn't actually know the big present was for me to start with, but when
Yeah.
I opened it,
Yeah.
I was stunned because I'd ask for things for Christmas, but it was very rare I'd ever get,
Yeah.
what I wanted. But this was the one time I'd mentioned to my gran and granddad, you know, about this game, Torpedo Run,
Yeah.
and and there it was in front of me, and I remember being stunned, absolutely stunned, and I wanted to play it immediately, and they were like, "Yeah, yeah, get it out, get it out." Oh, I mean, it would probably be quite dated and not as fun now, but I just remember having like 3 or 4 hours on the floor, just like taking out battleships with these discs that fly out of the submarines.
Yeah.
Have you ever played it?
I haven't, no. I've, like I say, I've heard the game,
Okay.
but I've
Well,
never, was it MB Games?
yes, MB games, yeah.
MB Games. Oh
You
god.
see the little submarines that are just at the edge of the board.
Yeah.
So what you do is you have these little red discs, and you'd fill up the little tube that you can see at the top there, and then there's a button at the back that would fire the discs out, and then under
Right.
all of the battleships you'd see were these
Yeah.
little holes. Much like the what's the game you play in arcades with the and you try and knock the ball around football, is it called?
Airsoft.
Air football, you know, the little,
Uh,
handle, and you knock the disc is going around the board, and you've got to try and
oh,
get it
right.
in the
Yeah, yeah,
slot.
yeah. I know what you
Yeah,
mean. Yeah, yeah.
it's a bit like that. You have to aim the discs
Not
from
Airsoft.
these submarines to go in
Yeah.
the slot, and then if you got a direct hit, the top of the battleship would actually fly off and explode.
Oh, wow.
So basically, you could play it 2 ways. You could take it in turns, or it could be, you know, rapid action against the other
Yeah.
player. and it's basically who took out the battleships the quickest
Yeah.
would win the game. Very, very simple, but, you can imagine as an 8-year-old, like, something that shoots guns, and blows things up is just, like, the greatest thing ever. I had such good fun with this game. But as with many things when you're that age, things got lost very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame.
But yeah,
I mean, I used to love stuff like this. I mean, we had battleships obviously when we were younger. I used to like playing that, especially
love
the
that game.
electronic version.
Yeah,
And then my neighbor, he had a game called Generals and stuff like that, and it was you had these like it was a bit like Guess Who. So you weren't asking questions and stuff like that about what's what. You just had like these discs and stuff, and you had like different so like insignia on there for the
yeah.
different ranks, and you'd have to protect your general at all time and stuff like that. And it was a very strategic game, and I kind of liked that as a
Mm,
kid. I
yeah.
mean, Risk. Have you ever played
Uh,
Risk?
Risk is one of my most favorite games of all time.
Oh, that's an awesome
You
game, in it.
as you know, and I've probably told you this many times before, I'm not a big fan of board games particularly. Steph loves board games, but I'm not a big fan. But Risk is I've had the original Risk version, I've
Yeah,
got the Lord of the
yeah,
Rings Risk,
yeah,
I've had the Star Wars Risk, and I love those games so, so much.
yeah.
So yeah, it's one of my favorite board games of all time.
I think an evening playing Risk might
Okay,
happen
yeah,
someday.
sounds good
I
to me.
love
Yeah,
playing that
yeah,
game. That was
yeah.
such an awesome
Take
game.
Australia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But oh, yeah, I mean, when you said you went to your nan and granddad's for Boxing Day and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, when my nan and granddad were alive and stuff like that, we used to go around there every sort of like Boxing Day, and I
Mm,
just remember walking in and the smell that when you walked into your nan and granddad's, the smell of the cooking, the dinner and
yeah,
stuff like that, and then
yeah,
you had like the pine tree smell and stuff like that, and it was just so Christmassy. And we used to have like my aunts and uncles there, and it was like
yeah,
a central spot for the family to meet up. And then my granddad, unfortunately, when he did pass away, it was we never used to go around there again, and it was always my nan come round
mm,
to us
yeah,
on Boxing Day up until the day she sort of like passed away. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just those well, it's not much the toys themselves, but it's the memories of the day and that time with the people that you had around you and stuff like that. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah,
Pretty
definitely,
cool.
definitely. I mean,
Cool.
some of my favorite memories of both sets of grandparents, some of my favorite childhood memories are going to
Yeah,
their house, whether it be just for the day or going
yeah,
there for a week in the summer holidays.
yeah.
You know yourself, you'd always get a little bit extra spoiled, than you
Oh,
would
yeah. Yeah,
normally
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, both my nan and granddad on my dad's side are both still alive. They're in their mid-90s, but
Wow.
my nan passed away on my mum's side, so, there's
Yeah,
just my granddad left, and I actually saw him about 3 months ago, and I said to him, "Thank you so much for those great childhood memories," 'cause they live with me even today.
yeah, yeah. Well, they would do. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, they're
yeah,
so good.
yeah, yeah. No, awesome, awesome. And then
Yeah.
there's I mean, again, that's quite a big old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the same size as a Subbuteo picture, is it? I don't know.
I don't think it's quite as big as a Sputio football pitch, but it's fairly big.
Yeah,
I mean, it's funny, before I researched this and found the pictures for you, in my mind, this was far more complex. From
you've
what
got
I
to have good
remember.
aim. You got to have good aim.
Yeah, yeah, it was really difficult to get it into the little holes where to blow things up, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think it was just the quick pace of it, and the fact
yeah.
that you could fire something at people.
So
It
that
was
day,
great.
Boxing Day, when you first played it, did you play it on your own, or did your granddad and your family sort of like join in as well?
I think I played with my sister was the first
Oh, okay,
time,
yeah, yeah,
we got the game out, so, I mean,
yeah.
but then I'm sure, I know how mischievous my uncles are and my granddad. I'm sure that at some point they probably like, "Right, I want in on this."
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely,
And
yeah.
again, is this something that it would interest you if you saw it again at a toy fair?
I don't know. I mean, again, I this I would definitely love to play it again. I'd love to
Yeah,
sort of experience playing it again on a table rather than on a carpet floor.
yeah,
But I'm not again. I don't know. I've not looked, but I'm guessing that this is probably quite expensive to buy on the secondary market, and I'd probably
yeah.
think, is it worth it? But I don't actually even know if they still do it, but like a modern version of it, because that would be really cool. Because I'd
Probably
consider
not
that.
because of health and safety.
True,
You wouldn't
true,
allow to
yeah.
have it because
Might swallow the
someone might
discs.
swallow a
Yeah,
disc. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
and it's
who
about
cares
war.
what
You don't like talking about war these days, do we? So,
No, no, no. I
no.
mean, what were the sides, Martin?
There was no
There
sides,
was no sides, all right. There's no countries, all
no,
right. Okay, that's
no.
all right then.
No,
Okay. All right. But don't
no,
I'm not saying a
no,
word.
no. No.
We're gonna move swiftly on. Right. Now,
Okay,
when I saw this, I was, like, blown away because I haven't seen this for absolute ages,
okay,
and I remember these as a kid, those
okay.
type of
I
costumes.
I I need to sort of stop you there because this isn't what I had as a kid.
Oh,
Um,
well, I'm
my
very disappointed.
granddad did woodwork, and
Okay.
and, um, I always wanted a Lego castle when
Yeah.
the yellow Lego castles when I was about 4 or 5, I always wanted one of those, but we couldn't afford one, so my granddad built me a Lego sorry, a fort that he made out of wood himself,
Yeah.
all slotted together. And the closest I could find something that looked like it was this picture, because obviously it doesn't
Okay.
exist anymore, unfortunately. But I wanted to give it a shout out because it was something that I had from about 5 years old. Again, it might have been a hand me down from my uncles possibly or my dad, I don't
Yeah.
know, but my
Yeah.
granddad definitely, made it, and this is quite close to what it looked like, but it had it was cleverly done because it had it was like, a case, and it opened up, and it's
Okay.
had all the pieces inside the case, and they all
Yeah.
fitted perfectly in the case. You take all the bits out, you turn the case upside down, and then on top of the case would be the base where you'd insert all of the walls and the turrets.
Oh,
So
wow.
they'd have little holes and then a little pin at the bottom of each thing, and you'd slot it in, so the case would then be the base, so you'd be able to
Yeah.
use that, so they'd all sit solidly without being able to move.
Wow.
And I would use that for everything. We'll come on to Star Wars, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
when I had my Star Wars figures, it was the Star Wars figures that were in the fort acting as soldiers or knights or whatever. So I just wanted to give this a bit of a shout out, even though this isn't it, because
No, no, that's absolutely
I
fine.
I had that for years,
Yeah.
and it got used for everything. I loved that, loved
But, I
it.
mean, how cool that your granddad actually made that.
Yeah.
That is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those things I really wish I still had
Yeah.
kept, but I don't know what happened to it, unfortunately.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean,
Mm,
after these things that you have as a kid, they sort of, like, do tend to go by the
yeah.
wayside, and it's not for want of not looking after your toys. I mean, I'm sure you were a kid that sort of, like, looked after his toys.
I had to, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I did. They definitely got played with, but
Yeah.
they got stored away in boxes and stuff when I'd finished with them because I didn't want to lose them. Basically, I wish
Yeah.
I'd thought about the weapons though.
Yeah. 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 I mean, have you ever I mean, with your granddad being a carpenter and stuff like that, have you ever sort of, like, thought about doing something similar, like building something like that from scratch, or is that not your forte at all?
Well, he wasn't a carpenter. He knew how to work with wood, and he
Okay.
made it. But to answer your question, Um, I would like to. I just feel like I'm not the most patient person in the world, and
Yeah, say that
it's like
again. Yeah.
3D printers, I like the
Yeah.
idea of them, but I just don't think I've got the patience for
What do you mean the
something like that.
patience? All you gotta do is put a program into a bloody computer and press a button. You're
Yeah.
not building it, are you, for crying out
No,
loud?
no, no,
You're
but I mean, I've done a
building
bit of research into it, and it does sound like
Alright.
it's very rare that the first effort ever comes out right, so you
Oh,
have to keep doing it over and over again, so I don't know. I Y I remember I never had a Castle Grayskull when I was a kid,
yeah,
um, and my dad attempted to make me a Castle Grayskull skull. He was gonna make it out of, paper mache, and, he was gonna try
yeah,
and make it exactly, and I don't really remember, him making it, but I remember the stages of seeing it as it was being made, and it
yeah.
got to, like, a molded shape kind of what it roughly would look like, and then it never went any further. So I think I've got my dad's sort of like, I'll start something but not necessarily finish
Not
it
not
attitude.
That's fair enough, but that's awesome though, I love that memory, that's superb.
Yeah.
And then talking to Motu, here we go. I mean, wow, yeah, I mean, who didn't have He-Man as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, this I'm sorry I couldn't find a better picture, but
That's
this
okay.
was the only He-Man set figures I ever had, and it was this actual 2-pack.
Wow.
And I
Okay.
think it was kind of like late 80s, so I think it was in a
Yeah.
toy store in Norfolk because I went to see my grandparents every summer, and they
Yeah.
always took us out to buy us a toy. And this was in one of the toy stores, and I'd never owned a He-Man figure in my life, and this was my opportunity. And it happened to be this twin pack of both the battle armor or battle damaged He-Man and Skeletor.
Yeah.
And I remember getting back to their house, and I played with these to death. It was so funny back in the 80s how something as simple as tapping a bit of armor and making it move to various stages of damage entertained you as a kid. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, these were again, I have no recollection as to where these went or what happened to
Yeah.
them, but, I do remember that summer just being I was playing with these constantly, Stu. I loved them to bits,
Isn't it
really,
funny?
really.
Because I mean, these two being the only figures you had, would you so apart from not having the figures themselves other than these two, would you say that you were big into He-Man with the like the animated series and stuff like that? I mean, did you watch that as a kid?
I did. I watched He-Man to death when I was a
Yeah.
kid. I
Yeah.
don't have a particularly big memory of the storylines, if
Yeah.
I'm honest, anymore, but I definitely watched it, and I watched it all the time. It was one of those weekly views that I didn't miss it. I loved it to bits. There was nothing about that cartoon, and it's funny. I've rewatched a bit on YouTube recently, actually, and I don't remember any of the sort of the moral of the story bits that they have at the end of each episode. I just didn't remember any of that. I just remembered the cool
Yeah.
fights and Skeletor's voice and
Yeah.
you know the Cringer turning into Battle Cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was one of those things that all my friends had He-Man, and I always wanted Battle Cat. I would have done anything to get Battle Cat when I was a kid. And I've had to stop myself from getting it as an adult because you know what I'm like about.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I was gonna say because I've asked you the question before on previous bits that you've shown us. I don't think there'll be any chance you getting this because I think if you do, that'll open the door up for you getting more
yeah,
stuff, and I know that you don't want to be doing that. And God, you're so disciplined.
yeah. Well, I mean, it the thing is, I love the fact that people like yourself and Shabby have got a really good Master of the Universe
Oh, I've got a
collection.
modest compared to Shabby
Well,
and Scuba and Chris Mewa and Boba
yeah,
Hicks. My He-Man collection is
but
tiny compared to those
but
guys.
even still, I see those when I see them on your
Yeah,
videos or in the background or whatever, and I'm like, or if I come over, I'll see them obviously, and it's just I love it. I absolutely think they're great, and it's great to see them. But you know,
yeah,
I can't start something like that because I'll get into it massively, and I'll want. It's like I haven't actually put them as down as anything because I didn't actually have them, but I was really, really into WWF when I was a kid as well.
yeah, yeah.
And I never owned a single figure in
Wow.
the 80s when they came out, the Hasbro ones.
Yeah.
And I have got to be so strong as an adult because I'd love to collect those.
Well,
If I
some of
could
those
say,
ones that they do now are pretty cool. Not like the old Hasbro ones, but
yeah,
the elite versions and the other
yeah.
ones that they're doing as well.
Yeah, see, but I'd want the Hasbro ones,
Oh, would
because
you?
yeah, because I love the fact that, like, He-Man, they're so out of proportion,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
what they
Good.
actually, they were in real life, yeah, I remember going over to somebody's house, and they had the blue ring, and they had, like, 5 or 6 WWF figures, and I wasn't jealous, but I was kind of, like,
Yeah,
always envious that, I wasn't able and if I was to ever be given the thumbs up on a second collection, I think I'd probably say WWF would be, the thing I'd probably try and get. Because I know you didn't really know they existed, did you, when you were
no,
growing up?
no, I didn't. That's the silly thing. I mean, I've heard people talk about it, like in my collecting life with the different like wrestling figures and stuff like that. And obviously, I was like, I grew up in the 80s and went toward like the shops and stuff like that. I call them stores, but we say shops in the UK, don't we? So
Yeah.
I remember seeing. I mean, I think I was so tunnel visioned with what I wanted to see, which was the Star Wars, the Motu, the Transformers, and the GI Joe. I mean, those were the four kind of like big lines back in the day, and I think it was the packaging that really sort of like sold me on those particular toy lines and stuff like that. I don't think that because I don't remember the wrestling figures at all. I don't. They just
No,
didn't stand out at all. So whether that was
no.
down to the packaging or whether it was because I wasn't paying attention, it's not what I wanted to see and look
Yeah,
at. I just walked straight past it. I don't know, but
yeah,
I'm so surprised when people said that they were around in the 80s. I was like, really?
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think it was late 80s, maybe 88 or 89, so it
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah,
Nil, but
yeah,
wrestling figures, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so you never know, one day maybe.
Well, yeah. But the question is, right, if I've asked you before about whether you would buy certain things, like your cricket set or the ball game torpedo run. You would have no qualms in buying those again if you saw them. What's the difference between those and these two figures here? I mean, if you saw these at a toy fair.
You see, well, there's only one of them, so once I've bought it, I've bought it.
Yeah.
How many you know more than I do, how many Motu figures are there
Yeah,
classic?
there's a lot. There's a lot, but
Yeah,
there was only one two-pack.
true. If I okay,
And that's what you had as a kid. So
okay, let me sort of throw that slightly to the left and say if I came across this twin pack and it was still in box,
yeah,
or on card, I should say, I would pick it up absolutely, and I probably
you would.
wouldn't feel the need to buy any more because they were these were on card and they were exactly what I picked up as a kid. If I was to see these loose, um, to make that distinction, and I bought them both loose, and I had them sat on a shelf just loose, they just look lonely, don't they, when they're out of a box or out off a card on their own? So I would consider then it quite easy for me to be like, oh, maybe I'll pick up a Ram Man, maybe I'll pick up a Evelyn,
But
um,
but you didn't have those as a kid though. So I mean, what would the attachment be?
I don't, yeah, I don't know.
Or does it need to be? Do you need to have an attachment?
Um,
This is what I was talking about this with Connor the other day because he did a video on a classified series figure wetsuit. Now I remember the character as a kid. I never had him as a kid, and my friend never had him as a kid. I just remember that, and I think he looks pretty cool. And I think that the classified version looks pretty cool. But because I didn't have him as a kid, I've got no attachment to him.
mm.
So I don't feel the need to get him. So would that not be the same with you and the rest of the Motu figures?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe you're right. I mean, I think, I go back to saying if something's loose, my collector brain and my completionist brain says, well, you can't just have two action figures loose set on a shelf. That looks really weird. Whereas if they're on card still, they make a nice display piece,
Yeah.
which may explain behind me my psychology quite well. Because could you imagine if I collected all of what's behind me loose? We could
Well, you're
be
starting to collect it
in
loose,
really
aren't you?
big trouble over here.
You're
So I
starting to collect
mean,
it loose.
yeah, yeah, I'd have more space.
Yeah, yeah, true, true. Oh, I mean, we've got Joe Fest coming up, so you never know, you might find that in Joe Fest.
Yeah,
They do all sorts of stuff.
yeah,
All
maybe,
sorts.
maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I won't, so I won't be
You
spending your
won't
money.
encour I'm sure
But
you won't encourage me.
don't go spending mine either. As long as it's well, if it's donuts, then it's okay. And,
Never.
donuts and coffee, it's all good. Moving on. Ah, yeah,
This
Batman. Wow.
this was probably one of the last toys I got that I can
Really?
remember anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would have been, what, 89, wouldn't it, when this came out?
yeah.
I remember
Toy Biz.
I got this one, and my sister got Bob the Goon. I don't know why my sister got Bob the Goon, but she got Bob the Goon, but we never had the Joker. And yeah, I mean, looking at it now, it doesn't look as detailed as what you obviously get now. But at the time, after watching Batman 89, going back to
Yeah,
what we were saying earlier, this was massively played with. I absolutely
yeah,
love this. I went through a massive Batman collecting phase where, do you remember the little the cards, the packs of 5 cards with the bubble gum you used to get?
yeah, yeah.
I nearly completed that first set, series 1, and I stuck them all on my wall. And there were some deleted scenes on some of those cards
Oh,
that I
wow.
remember that they didn't add to the film. And yeah, so I went through a massive Batman phase. So if I was bought in the 78, so I would have been like 12, 13, as I said earlier. So
Yeah.
yeah, I loved it. I never had the Batmobile or the Batwing or the Batcave or any of that stuff, but I have such great memories of this figure. You know, just trying to reenact the scene. Like, do you remember the scene in Batman where he's around the corner and the guy starts walking towards the camera and he just goes like that, and he just knocks the
Yeah,
guy out behind the wall. I'd be
yeah,
doing stuff like that with this figure, with my Star Wars figures being like the bad guys, you know.
yeah,
I was honestly, 80s was, as we all know, was the peak era of movies for us,
yeah,
for entertainment. But this film, it was kind of, I'm probably going to be probably wrong, but from what I remember right now, it went Return of the Jedi, and then I had like an 7 year period or 6 year period of really, really good films, like amazing films, and then Batman '89 came along, and it was like boom, next level, back to Return of the Jedi, Star Wars. It's like sort of film that affected me as a
yeah.
kid. I love this film so much. Yeah, and this figure, as I say, I played with it to death. I don't actually remember having any of the weapons, so
Yeah,
they must have got lost quite quickly. Um, I was chatting to someone the other day who has a YouTube channel, and he'd done a video, and he went to a toy store, and I see these all the time in these toy store videos that I watch on YouTube from other
yeah,
YouTubers, and so I've seen them, I think, at Sandown and other places, and the next things I buy at a toy fair, if I see them at a good price, are going to be the 389 gold card figures. Because I think Luke Reynolds has got them. When I went to his house and looked around his toy room, I think I remember
yeah.
him having them. But just for nostalgia's sake, I must have these at some stage because, yeah, I love this so much, Stu. That's all I could say, really. I was just,
That's strange you say that, but I mean, what would you get them loose if you saw them
um,
loose?
I don't think so. No, no.
No?
I'm a carded collector, as you know.
Yeah.
I'm starting to open myself up to being a loose collector, and I've opened quite a lot of stuff in the last
Yeah, I
couple of
know, and I've seen
months.
how much it pains you as well.
Yeah, um, but this sort of thing is this isn't about this. I mean, Star Wars is my thing, but
Yeah,
this is kind of like would be a little tiny shelf off to the side where I can walk past it and go, I remember those. Wow, what great memories I had of those. Whereas most of the stuff behind me, excluding the vintage figures, is
yeah,
stuff that reminds me of my childhood
yeah,
because of the design, not the actual fact that
yeah,
they are what I had as a kid.
yeah. I mean, I think the cards look pretty cool on this as well. So yeah,
Mm,
I mean, I've seen these about, so they are pretty cool.
yeah.
It's interesting you say that films sort of like have an impact on you. I mean, back in the 80s, there were like you say, well, even the like I'd say mid 70s, late 70s,
Mm,
80s, all the way through, and maybe a couple in the 90s. They really did have an impact on me as a kid. I mean,
mm.
do you think that's still the case now, where a movie can have an impact on you? You
Uh,
do, or even to
mass
this, even now.
Very rarely these days.
Yeah,
But I love toys. I love toy collecting.
yeah,
But if I'm being honest, movies are the thing I love the most, and it's very rare these days. But when a movie like affects me when I've watched it. You know, you get that I I've got this reputation for crying a lot, of being emotional about things, but sometimes when a movie grabs me and I get
yeah,
that swell of emotions when I watch a film, or goosebumps at a moment in a film, or a film finishes and I feel like I've never seen anything like that before, and it really,
yeah,
really affects me. And it happened a lot as a kid, because it does when you're a kid, I think. But
yeah,
we also lived in a period of time in the 80s when we were kids, when lots of films did that because we'd never seen anything like them before. And we got a certain number of those sort of films in the 90s. And then as we become adults, I think
yeah,
we get that feeling, but it's not necessarily from the sort of films we did when we were kids. So, you know, might be a drama or a thriller that you get that,
yeah,
which you wouldn't necessarily have done as a kid. And you know, I remember in the early 2000s when um, the Lord of the Rings trilogy came out, or when the
what,
first
yeah,
Matrix
yeah,
film came out, or, and I'm going to probably get grief for saying this, but when the first Avatar film came out, those three series of films, they gave me that feeling that
yeah,
I had when I was a kid, and I think that when I get that feeling, it makes my interest in the film go beyond the film. I want to watch
Yeah.
documentaries about those films. I want to collect anything that has to do with those films because I want to be part of that experience after the film. I don't want to just watch the film. I want to sort of live that experience.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
Does
get
that make
that. I
sense?
get that. Yeah, no, absolutely,
Yeah, and
absolutely. I
I
mean,
think
yeah,
this Batman figure may be a good representation of that, to be
yeah.
honest.
I mean, it was like I say, it would I could appreciate it a lot more now as an adult than what I do or what I
Mm,
did back then as a kid, and
interesting, yeah.
yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because you see it the once, and you know, I suppose what was I 89, so I'd have been probably 16, 17, something like that, and
Mm. Too cool
I
for Batman.
huh?
You were too cool for Batman.
I was damn too cool. I was too cool for a lot of things as a kid, but, you know, there you are. I still am to a degree. But yeah, and so I don't know. I thought it was very comic booky, and that's really stupid considering it's from a comic book, isn't it? You know,
Mm.
Batman was the comic book. So I learned I appreciate that now more so than what I did as a kid and, you know, and some things sort of like grow better with age and like myself. But yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Let's move on. Let's move on. Now, I know this is a toy line that has had a huge impact on you. So talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Kenner vintage Star Wars figures
Yeah,
were the only toys, as far as I'm concerned, that I had when I was a kid. I might have shown a few already prior to these that I
yeah,
got, but they were very rare and far and few between. You know, one Batman figure, two He-Man figures,
yeah,
and some
yeah,
hand-me-downs. The only and I had a couple of Transformers actually as well, but these were the figures and the toys that I had all through my childhood.
yeah,
These cards specifically, I mean, it's been talked about to death from a lot of people, but just quickly, these card backs, as soon as I see the back of them or the front of them,
yeah,
they just take me back to a time when everything was fantastic.
yeah,
You know, you'd smile every time you look at the back of these. You know, I did exactly what everyone else did, and I'd put a little circle or a cross
yeah,
against every single one, and then you'd look at the ones you didn't have, and you'd yearn to have them. Yeah, I mean, 79 back's probably the era I remember the most. Yeah, these mean so much to me, and one thing I don't think I've ever shared is I probably had about 50 Star Wars figures, let's say roughly 50 Star Wars figures from the age
yeah,
of dot to the age of 16, say.
yeah,
And at first, I would play Star Wars with them because they're Star Wars figures. And
yeah.
then Indiana Jones would come out. And because I couldn't have Indiana Jones figures, the Star Wars figures would become Indiana Jones
Indiana
figures.
Jones. Yeah,
Then if I got into WWF wrestling in the 80s, they'd stop being Star Wars figures and they become WWF wrestling figures. And I made a little wrestling ring out of a tin box, you know. And this would carry on through
yeah.
all the interest. I mean, I remember watching Predator and at a very young age, and Boba Fett was the Predator.
Oh wow.
And I played as Bob, and then I remember when Masters of the Universe came out, and that film has a lot of problems, but nostalgia-wise, I loved it, and I still love
Yeah,
it now.
yeah,
It's very cheesy, but I loved that scene, where he has all those black stormtrooper guards, and there's that massive fight in Castle Grayskull,
yeah,
and, you know, there's lasers going all over the place, and as a kid, you know, I didn't see the imperfections, I just saw that was amazing, so I'd have all
yeah,
my stormtroopers from Star Wars would be the black guards on case in Castle's Grayskull, and then I'd have one of the figures as He-Man, and I'd have one of the figures as Skeletor. So, although they were Star Wars figures, and they were Star Wars
your
figures,
imagination.
yeah, my imagination would
Yeah,
turn them into whatever I wanted them to be, and because I didn't have anything else, I didn't know any better, so as far as I was concerned, it was fine, you know,
yeah,
I'd have the 2 Gamorrean guards would be, Earthquake and Typhoon, who are 2 sort of overweight wrestlers, you know, and I'd u
yeah,
'cause they were rotund, so they would be those wrestlers, so I would use these for everything, and, I'm so upset that I don't have them as anymore as an adult. They got thrown out when I went to university. My mum threw all my toys out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
wow.
they probably would be absolutely battered.
Yeah.
But when people say they were well used, I used them for 15 years. Um,
Wow.
and they were played with as every movie franchise, every
Yeah.
entertainment thing that I was into, they got used for that. And yeah, I mean, you said imagination. I mean, I'm sure all of us had great imaginations when we were a kid, but I would I
Yeah.
would I
Yeah.
would, go to town with stories that I would make up with these figures. And, I'd get my duvet cover and, like, make a hole in the duvet cover and spread it up, and I'd have them all stood around the edge, and that would be the Sarlacc pit,
Yep.
that they'd fall
Yep.
into. I'd
So simple yet so
Yeah,
effective. I mean, I
yeah,
think anybody of our age would have done that. I used like sideboards and wardrobes and the bed itself and just anything I could find to make a base out or a landing
yeah,
platform and stuff. I would
yeah,
do that.
yeah,
I mean, I've always said that for me, Motu has had probably some of the best card art or box art for a toy line, and I still think I still go by that.
yeah,
When you see the back of a Star Wars card like that, the yellow back with all the figures, and from that just hits me right in the nostalgia feels every single time I see that.
absolutely.
I don't think I as much as I like the Motu box art and stuff like that, that nostalgia for Star Wars and those particular card backs, it just gets me right in the feels more so than any other toy line, I
Yeah,
think.
definitely, definitely. I couldn't agree more. And even when just flashing an image up like that, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it just I can't really explain it. It brings a flood of emotions and memories back to
yeah,
sitting. I can picture myself right now sitting in my room quietly on the floor, just looking at the back of the cards, just staring at them,
yeah,
and
yeah,
wasting hours upon hours of time
yeah.
just staring at those cards. And I genuinely feel that, you know, there's not really anything like Star Wars ever, even after those films had finished, that I mean, maybe a kid who's older than I would argue with me, but for me personally, no film series has ever been able to create anything, as nostalgic as the merchandise that came out, and that gives
No,
me the warm feelings.
I think it was the perfect time for it.
Mm,
As much as the films go, but I mean, I think as the scale goes, the 3.75 inch, the world
yeah,
building, you could have the ships. I mean, no, they weren't to scale, but they were still pretty big. I mean, the Millennium Falcon was pretty big. You had the X-Wing, the TIE
yeah,
fighter, the
yeah,
shuttle, all those decent vehicles that you saw
yeah,
in the movies. You had them as a kid, and
yeah,
they were meant to be played with. And like I say, your imagination just used to run wild and stuff like that. And I vividly remember looking at those card backs because when I started getting into Star Wars, it was around 1980, so it was The Empire Strikes Back. So that's when I got my first, X-wing and Darth Vader's Tie Fighter and stuff like that for the Christmas that year. I'd kind of missed out on Star Wars: A New Hope, so I didn't have the original Han Solo, Farm Boy Luke, Princess
yeah.
Leia, or and or any of the like Greedo and stuff like that. So I used to sit and look at the back of the cards and think, oh wow, it'd be great to kind of have those. And
Yeah,
I never did as a kid, but
yeah,
it doesn't matter because I was still pretty happy. I've
yeah,
got them now, and
yeah.
it's just fantastic. And
I totally agree, Stu. I never had one vehicle. Well, I had a speeder bike,
yeah,
but I never had a single vehicle growing up as a kid. And I think a lot as an adult, what you see behind me
yeah,
is perhaps that psychological thing of,
yeah,
A, I never had that as a kid. Now I've got a disposable income, I can get it.
yeah,
B, I haven't got any of those original toys anymore, so I want to relive having those again. And 3, the feeling that they give me when now I've got them all, we've had this conversation many times online and offline.
yeah,
There's nothing greater sometimes than coming into your collection room, sitting down, just sort of sitting there quietly with your thoughts, and
yeah,
and it's my quiet, um, space where I come and just sort of,
yeah, yeah.
uh, meditate or whatever.
what I was going to say is, are you surprised at the level of impact those movies have had on you as a kid and an adult?
Yes, I think, looking back, one way or another, people that have known me since I was very young, and I still have a lot of friends from school, that I've still very good friends with now, and some of them would be like, "Blimey, Martin, we grew out of that 35 years ago," and they, but they don't say it mockingly, they
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
it, but yeah, I mean, I don't regret a minute of it because it's given me so much enjoyment and so much
yeah, yeah,
love,
yeah.
and you know, I I'm not surprised in a way because there's never really been anything like them. There's that you could argue perhaps there are films that are better than them, films that
Is
are
there? Is there?
well,
Mm, sure.
possibly. I mean, people could make that argument, and that's fair enough. But
Yeah,
for me, they you watch them now, and I still get the same feeling watching
yeah,
Darth Vader tell Luke that he's his father as I did when I was 10. And I still get the same feeling watching the space battle from Return of the Jedi that I got when I was 10, So
yeah.
there's not many films really that you can say that about. Um,
True, true.
so I think as you said earlier, it was a sort of lots of things all coming at the right time because
Yeah.
nothing's really had the impact ever since, has it?
It hasn't, and I think the reason that is because, like you say, Star Wars at the time, we'd never seen anything like that, and now everything has, like, followed on from Star Wars. They've tried to emulate it, imitate it in some way. You get the cheap B movie knockoffs of Star Wars. You get other franchises using that kind of technology, for that time, and so
Mm,
it's nothing's new anymore. The storylines are all pretty much kind of like the
yeah,
same sort of thing, and I think as much as the special effects for Star Wars back in the day were, you know, groundbreaking.
mm,
I think the story was pretty decent as well. There was a good storyline to it, and I've said before as well, with the lightsaber duels, they might not be as um, dynamic to watch or flashy to watch as say some of the modern day stuff like prequels and the prequels, and but the was there. There was meaning behind those, it didn't need to be choreographed and stuff like that. The first, lightsaber battle we'd seen with Ben and
yeah,
Vader, it was the first time we'd seen anything like that, and it was
yeah,
pretty cool. And
yeah,
then it sort of intensified in the next movie with Luke and Vader. You just, oh wow, okay, there's a lot at stake here.
yeah,
The reveal, and then the emotion and the feeling behind the fight in Return of the Jedi with Vader, and
yeah,
it was just, some great storytelling, and
yeah,
it and I think the story was first and foremost the most important thing. Everything else fell into place with it, with the effects and what was going on.
yeah. Definitely,
Yeah,
absolutely, definitely. I
definitely.
couldn't agree 100%.
We jump out, we talk Star Wars all day. I've still got some more photos. Really surprised you've sent. Let's show them anyway. Look at this. So, that is Ultra Magnus, I believe.
It is, yeah. I honestly don't remember ever having him, but clearly I did because that's me
Yeah.
in my Mr. T pajamas. Um, yeah, I mean, I can imagine I've got. I wasn't. I watched Transformers, the original cartoon, but I stopped. What I never watched Transformers the movie. I never actually
Yeah.
saw that, so I only ever saw the TV series, if that makes sense. So I must have been into Transformers, but I wasn't into it like long term.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, what probably happened with this is, from because if I remember correctly, you could move the arms around and it turned into like a truck, didn't it?
That's it.
A
Yeah.
car
Yeah.
carrier. I
Yep.
probably
So
ended up
that's
using
yeah.
the car carrier bit as a base for Star Wars figures. Or a ship or something like that
Yeah.
for Star Wars figures, because that's what I tended to do. If anything I have, it ended up, creating some sort of Star Wars thing. But
Wow.
yeah, I can't work out what that other Transformers box is because I don't know Transformers too well. But there's
Oh,
another
crikey, I
one.
can't see it. I'll have to have a look, and
Yeah,
then but I ain't gonna be able to see that from
yeah.
here. God. Right, moving on. No, I mean, you've not changed. Look at your little face. You've not changed at all,
Yeah,
Martin.
you can just see the I've got a Return of the Jedi Kenner card back there, and you can see the yellow back, um,
Where?
in my hands. In my left hand, I'm holding a Kenner card back. You can see the Kenner
Oh,
authentic
mate,
disc.
I've not got the big screen on, so
Uh,
I'm buggered, mate. I
okay,
ain't
yeah.
gonna be able to see that.
Yeah, no, I'm holding a Return of the Jedi card back there, and I actually
Yeah,
remember this moment because my grandma had given me. I still believed in Father Christmas at this point, or Santa Claus to our
yeah.
American viewers, and my grandma gave me this, and it was an Ewok. This figure, I think it was
Okay.
I think it was low grey, and
Yeah, yeah.
you can see the look on my face. I'm like, I'm not sure, am I?" And I remember turning to my grandma and saying, "It's low grey. I've already got low grey. Why would Father Christmas bring me the same thing that I've already got?"
Oh,
And my
no.
mum, without even missing a beat, turns around and goes, "Well, there's more than one Ewok in Return of the Jedi, isn't it? So obviously he's populating the Ewoks." And I just went, "Oh yeah," like that, and completely forgot about it.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I think I was probably at that age where I was starting to question whether he existed or not.
Oh,
But
no.
yeah, no, I remember
Cool.
that. I remember this moment. Yeah,
Yeah. That's so cool though.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'd used to love getting Star Wars figures for Christmas
yeah.
and stuff like that. I used to get them in stockings and god damn it. And then I
Really?
wow. Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the Liverpool kit, right?
It is, yeah.
Well,
Well, I don't think the shorts are, but the rest of it is,
no.
yeah. Yeah.
Look at those pins. Bloody Nora. Wow. How old was you there?
Oh, maybe 5? I mean, yeah, maybe
5?
5 or 6, maybe, I don't know.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I think the photos I sent you, the name of the photos actually says the age that I am, so
Oh, does it?
if
Oh,
you're that
God.
interested, I can't remember.
Oh,
But
I didn't notice the age. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
But,
God.
yeah, I put this in for, just for shabby, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
decent kit. Is that candy across the top?
It probably was, yeah, I can't remember,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've just spotted as well, I'm wearing goalie gloves as well, so I literally went all out. Those yellow goalie
Unbelievable.
gloves with the black, felt,
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
God, I remember those. Yeah,
Tho
yeah.
those socks look a bit too big for me as well, don't they?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Oh, dear.
Martin, I've got to say, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I mean, crikey, we've gone well over the hour. So,
Sorry.
that's okay. Like I say, I've really enjoyed chatting with you, mate. Thank you so much. And I know you were saying in the green room, oh, I don't know what to talk about, but you did fine. You did good. You
Okay, cool.
rabbited on, so it's all good. Um, where can people find you on social media, Martin?
Well, we've obviously got AL and LTA on, which is a long and long time ago on Instagram, and a long and long time ago on YouTube. If you want to check us out.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I will leave the links to your social media platforms in the description below. Again, thank you so much, mate. Really do
No,
appreciate it. Really
pleasure.
enjoyed it. Thank
Loved
you.
it.
For those of you who have watched to the end, whether you've actually physically watched it or you just listened in the background and stuff like that, thank you very much. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Great.